Khash Saghafi, Liberty Home Mortgage, and today's topic is what is the difference between a bank and a broker, okay? Now the truth of the matter is there's actually mortgage brokers, there's mortgage bankers, and there's banks. But since people watching this will confuse everything, and I like to keep these as simple as possible and try to simplify it down, and if you really want to dive deeper into the weeds, call me on my cell phone, okay, and I'll explain it even deeper. And by the way, if you're a real estate agent, you really need to know the differences between broker, banker, bank, okay? But anyways, let's just keep this simple. Banks and brokers, because the public understands, I think, broker a lot better than banker and all this other stuff. Anyways, brokers and banks. So what's the difference between a bank like Wells Fargo Bank, Bank of America, PNC Bank, Huntington National Bank, Bank of Oklahoma, whatever you want to say, a bank, B-A-N-K, and a broker, okay? A broker is somewhat of a middleman or middlewoman or whatever you want to say, okay? It's a middleman, okay? So a bank is the physical bank you walk into. Let's just call it Wells Fargo Bank, established for God knows almost 200 years or 175 years, whatever it is, and that's a bank. Banks do checking, savings, mortgages, auto loans, student loans, investments. You want a 401k or I mean, they do retirement accounts or whatever in the world it all is, okay? That's your bank. Here's the upside to a bank. I'll give you an upside and a downside to each one, okay? The upside to a bank is it's a bank, it's Wells Fargo. You walk into it every day, you bank there. That's where your checking account is, that's where your savings account is. You feel comfortable and safe. It's a physical building, and you could, I'm pretty sure you could do this probably with Wells Fargo, but I'm fairly confident that you could probably walk in and make a payment if you feel like it. Definitely at some banks or smaller banks, regional banks, things like that. I know for a fact with some savings and loans I know and stuff like that, you can walk in and hand your payment to the teller over the window. That is convenient, okay? There's a lot to be said for that. Peace of mind is a big deal, okay? Peace of mind is a big deal. You're working with somebody who you've known since you were a kid and you opened your first checking account and got a free toaster for it. Well, you didn't get the toaster, your mom got the toaster, okay? But anyways, so that's the upside to a bank. It's that comfort level of we're established, we're here, you've known us, your banking is here, okay? Let me give you the downside to a bank, okay? Banks are very risk averse. Banks do not like risk, okay? Banks hate risk. They don't like it at all. Banks are very vanilla. They like doing things very, very simple. Open up a checking account with us. If you need an auto loan, no problem. Hopefully it's a brand new car or something like that. And if you're buying a home, hopefully your credit's perfect. You've been on your job for 20 years. They like very, very vanilla, very basic, ultra safe, okay? Banks typically, now again, people watching me, I know there's gonna be some group of people out there watching saying, Khash, these banks take all these chances and risks and stuff like that. Historically, no. Banks are very risk averse, okay? They don't take big risks. They're very conservative. Here's the problem it creates for getting a mortgage loan is that they typically don't go, if you've had a bankruptcy in your past, it could be, 8 years ago, it doesn't matter, okay? They might just say, you know what, we're not happy that you had a bankruptcy 8, 9, 10 years ago. Bankruptcies stay on credit for 10 years. So they might just say, we don't like that. You've been on your job for 7 months. They might not like that. Your debt to income ratio is a little higher. Money is being gifted to you. You're refinancing your house and taking out some of the equity to consolidate other debt. They're not happy with that. They're not comfortable. So they're very, very, very traditional, very risk averse. They don't like taking chances. They don't like risk. It's that simple. So if you're sitting in the 690s on a credit score, that's not necessarily fit for a bank, okay? So on the downside to a bank, they're very risk averse. They like being very conservative, okay? I joke with people that a lot of banks, when you work with a bank, a lot of times it's like going back in time and they work at a slower pace, okay? Now again, there's loan officers at banks that'll run circles around a lot of loan officers that are brokers. But that's the story of a bank. It has good sides and bad sides. Let's go to brokers, okay? Here's the upside to a broker. Brokers work with multiple lenders. Brokers have different programs they can give you access to by working with multiple lenders. You know, maybe you had a bankruptcy, maybe you had a collection, maybe you were in the military and you want a special first-time home buyer program. Maybe you want to pull out a little more equity than normal from your house. Maybe you just started your job and you don't have 10 years on the same job. Maybe your debt to income ratio is a little bit higher because there's other income you have that's not usable. So brokers work with a lot of different programs and a lot of different lenders and investors that they can place you in different places. That's the upside to a broker. Here's the downside to a broker. The downside to a broker is control, okay? Brokers don't necessarily have the service, the turnaround. They're not as established as Wells Fargo Bank. Wells Fargo Bank, you've heard of, okay? A broker working out of a small office that just opened up a year ago, you've never heard of. So you lose that sense or that feeling of the personalization side of it. That's really the downside to a broker, is just they're not as established necessarily as these banks you've heard of, like PNC Bank or Bank of America or something like that, where from coast to coast you've heard of it. You have an understanding when I say Wells Fargo. So each side has upsides and downsides. Speak to your friends, people who've gotten loans, real estate agents. Most importantly, speak to the loan officer. Ask them what the upside and the downside is of working with them. And this is just a little insight as to the difference between a bank and a broker. Keep watching my videos, share them, comment, subscribe to my page as usual, and we'll catch you on the next one.